Late Night Graham Torrington.
Evening, here we are together then for a Tuesday night, and tonight I'll be talking to the woman who isn't just doing one good deed, she's doing 50. Paula's story after 11.
Stories, music, life. Late Night Graham Torrington on BBCWM 95.6.
Here on to 1 o'clock tonight, it's Lena Graham Torrington. I'm talking to Paula. She's an adventure psychologist and has been an adventurer for some 30 years and is currently doing her own 50 Good Turns in 50 Countries challenge. And she has a diary filled with more adventures, all designed to help others as well. So you're doing this challenge then, which is called 50 Good Turns. What made you want to do it?
Well, I've done various adventures in my life, and I like the variety of learning different sports and going to different countries. So I was just like mulling around in my head, what should I do next? What's physically challenging, interesting, ideally involves a bit of travel, and if possible, a bit of philanthropy. And I've kind of made up this game, which I've called 50 Good Turns. So it's cycling across 50 countries, ideally doing at least one good turn in each country, and cycling with 50 different people. And the turns, obviously, a play on the words with the wheels on the bike and so on. So I've done
Absolutely.
9 countries so far.
Wow, a great play on words there. Who came up
Thank
with that?
you. I did.
That is fantastic, it really is.
Yeah.
So you've done 9 countries so far. Tell me about those then.
I started doing the length of Britain, so quite often it's Land's End, John O'Groats, but I did John O'Groats to Home, which is on the south coast. So that was 860 miles, I think, and that was a tester cycle for me to see whether I was happy committing to cycling across 50 countries. I wasn't sure whether I had the ability even to cycle more than a day, but I loved it. I loved seeing our country in its full amazing scenery from top to bottom.
And who went with you on that one?
I actually did that on my own, Graham, because I really, really wasn't sure whether I was capable of cycling more than 6 hours at a time. And I didn't want to let anyone down or appear like an idiot. So I did all that one on my own.
And how long did it take?
That took 11 days.
Wow.
So I think I averaged about 80 miles a day or something with all my kit, and I was wild camping each night.
So you managed that, and fueled with that, you thought, I'm going to continue doing this. So where next?
So I think then, I think I did Malta, and in my head Malta was quite a big island, but actually I realised it was smaller than the Isle of Wight. So it could have taken about half an hour, but I decided to cycle, all around it, and did the whole circumference and made the whole day of it. But it's amazingly tiny. I hadn't quite realised how tiny it is. So, that one didn't take long at all.
And where else have you done? Just run through the list for me.
So I cycled across Poland, which is a fascinating sort of farming country right across the middle of Poland. I did Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia in a zip of 3 countries, and did over 100 miles one day doing that. And then I've done Holland, Belgium and Luxembourg. And on Friday, I leave to do Ireland. And the day I get back, I fly to Budapest, and I'm doing Hungary and Slovakia.
Wow, it sounds like the Eurovision Song Contest so far, doesn't it, really? So, quite at the moment, relatively small countries. When are you going to do something like Australia?
So my 50 Good Turns at the moment, all I've done is list all the countries of Europe.
Right.
So there's a nice little, there's bundles of small countries which possibly only take about 2 days each.
Right.
But there is Norway and there is Russia. So I'm working up to the harder ones. So as I get more and more miles under my belt, I get more experience about dealing with, there's so much you have to deal with when you're cycling, touring cycling.
Sure.
There's weather and roads and people and traffic and finding food and somewhere to stay. So it's quite full on, it's quite intense. And I'm gathering skills and leaving the bigger, harder ones to later.
And you're talking about taking people with you and wanting to be with people there. Is this local people, or is this people you know, or people that put themselves up for the challenge?
I have got a list of hundreds of people, Graham, that really want to cycle country with me. I think people like the neatness of the challenge, that they can cycle from border to border. And I think I either inspire and make people feel safe because I've done so much. So if they know they can just hook on to me and my, knowledge and experience, I think they feel like they're really challenging and stretching themselves whilst in the capable hands of Paula the adventurer sort of thing. So I've got all sorts of people wanting to cycle with me.
And at the moment, we are in late spring, early summer here, of course. Has this all been through fair weather, or you been through some pretty rough weather in any of these?
I tend not to cycle over winter purely because I carry all my kit and it's quite bulky. So if I was carrying really thick and heavy clothing and sleeping bags and tent, it would get a bit cumbersome in the winter. Mm. The UK cycle was one of the difficult ones, classic English weather. I think it was September, October, and lots of real thunderstorms and heavy flooding. So not very enjoyable when you're on a main road and you've got lorries hurtling past you and spray kicking off the back of them, the grit, running water and thunder and lightning is not the best experience. But it is living life to the full. So at least I am experiencing.
And you still have a list of people who want to be with you.
Yes.
You've also,
I have persuasive skills.
You've also got one plan called Blood, Sweat and Tiaras. Tell me about that.
Another good name, Graham, don't you think?
Yeah, very good, very good.
I like playing with words. So this one, I've got a friend locally who wrote me an email saying that his daughter is a finalist in Miss Universe Great Britain. So her name's Alice Miller, and she needs to raise awareness for charities and do some challenge. And we had a chat, and rather than just do a cake sale or something, we discussed her doing something that required more commitment and showed her determination to positively influence the world compared to perhaps some of the other finalists, so that she stood out a bit with her determination and guts. So that's why we've come up with Blood, Sweat and Tiaras. Slight, obviously, teasing play with the tiara theme, but I really like her. She's very intelligent, she's very bright. I'm hoping she'll be a great role model and ambassador for women, and her charities are great. So she's cycling with me on that one.
Oh, fantastic. I mentioned a few moments ago that you're an adventure psychologist. What does that mean?
Okay, so last year I got a master's degree in positive psychology, which includes the grit of life. So no matter what happens to us, we can have a positive output, if you like. So that was fascinating. But I realised that adventurers generally have great attitudes. They are prepared to challenge themselves and put themselves into a calculated risk situation, which I call going knowingly into the unknown. Right. So it's not chaotic madness. It's normally adventurers are very well planned and prepared, and yet they then stretch themselves by going off into this unexplored territory. And I realise that in life and in business, it's quite useful to have that sort of mindset where you're willing to explore and discover. You put yourself through challenge and uncertainty, and from that you develop agility and resilience and wisdom. So I've kind of made it up, Graham, but I'm launching adventure psychology as a new discipline alongside sports psychology. So it's more about enduring performance in challenging and uncertain conditions.
Well, in all life skills, really, we can adapt that, can't we?
Totally. So I think you don't have to be an adventurer to have an adventurous mindset. And, life is tough and life is full of ups and downs and uncertainties. And we all have our own mountains to climb, as it were. So how can we grapple with those difficulties and be okay and survive and thrive in difficult conditions?
So what unique mindsets do you develop as an adventurer, would you say?
I think, first of all, being a bit more open-minded about stuff, the willingness to explore and discover rather than assuming we know everything. I think if we think we know everything or we're meant to know everything, it closes us down a bit. So the willingness to, if you like, not know, to loosen up a bit and think, okay, well, let's try this new business idea, or let's try rebranding our company and see how it goes. So a willingness to explore, discover and try things. And then decision-making while you're in the thick of it.
Wow.
So there's an interesting model, if you like, called anticipatory thinking, where you can think ahead what might happen, what might be the worst that happens, think it all through, and then when you get into the thick of it, for instance, if you get stuck up a mountain in a storm, you've already mentally prepared for that, so you're a little bit more relaxed and less hijacked when that situation actually happens, which of course can help us in life as well.
Absolutely. Paul, if anybody wants to find out any more about the things that you're doing or anything about your work, how can they do that?
Lovely, thank you, Graham. So first of all, I think we are raising awareness and funds for our blood, sweat and tiaras. So alicemiller.com, ALLYS, unusually.com. We're fundraising through her website with GoFundMe. And then anything to do with me, paulareed.com, and adventure psychology generally is I'm hoping to really benefit a lot of people to help them be more resilient with life.
When you say read, is it R-E-E-D?
Sorry, R-E-I-D, so Paula Reed, REID.com.
Fantastic. Well, we've put those details on my Facebook page. Some of my listeners can go and check them out there right now. Now, as I mentioned, you're going to be getting married later on this summer. I'm kind of thinking that's the you going away and on your honeymoon is not going to be lying on a beach somewhere in Marbella. Would I be right?
So this is one of the biggest adventures of my life so far. I'm new to Graham, but then it does make sense. We are going to go and sit on a beach because we so rarely do that. So because most of our life is adventuring and pushing ourselves and sailing around the world and climbing mountains, it's actually going to be, unusual for us to go to the Maldives and sit on the beach. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, enjoy your cocktails sitting around the pool, won't you?
Thank you.
Paula, it's been really good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining me on the programme tonight.
Thank you, Graham.
Stories, music, life. Late Night Graham Torrington on BBCWM 95.6.